Would it change your life if you knew the real cause of all your problems? Have you ever worked with a therapist or coach and it's helped a bit but hasn't helped you to fully transform? Or are you ready to try something for the first time and you're not sure where to start? In this episode, I'll show you what I've learned to be the root cause of the vast majority of our problems in life after 8 years of being obsessed with psychology, emotions, and human behavior, transforming my own life and helping people just like you all around the world to transform theirs, and how it works, whether you've tried anything before or you're just getting started. So let's get stuck straight in. The first question is, why do lots of other approaches not work? Things that I've tried in the past, people often come to me for private coaching and will say to me, they've tried working with therapists, they've tried other coaches, they've tried other ways of learning things, and they've helped a little bit. Speaking to a therapist is nice to get things off your chest for a while, but they haven't fundamentally changed their life. Why is that? And the reason is that many other approaches that I've seen over the years treat the surface level symptoms, or what we can consciously see is going wrong in our life, instead of the real root cause that's buried in our subconscious. So my work, everything I've realized, everything I've learned and put together over the years, deals with the real root cause of everything. It goes deep into our subconscious programming and changes that. So to do that, we have to go back to where it all starts, which effectively is our childhood and when our ego was first created. And what is that all about? So go back to the basics of this, right? When we are children, our system knows that we cannot survive by ourselves. We are unlike other creatures. Certain other creatures can survive by themselves. We know deep down in our subconscious when we're born that we can't do that. Our ego is created as a safety mechanism. It is there to keep us alive and to meet our subconscious needs. But the kicker is, it doesn't care about our happiness or fulfillment. That doesn't even register to it. So all it cares about is, how can it keep us alive? How can it meet our subconscious needs? And what that means is, everything that we struggle with in our adult life at a very deep level is linked to the fear of death, which is why things are so difficult to change. When we are a child, we learn that if the people we're handed to when we're born don't love us, don't like us, they might abandon us. And if they abandon us, we will die. Everything links back to this. It might sound crazy, but as I've been working through this over the years, I've been boiling things down. I used to think everything stopped at low self-esteem and not feeling good enough, but I realized it goes deeper than that, because low self-esteem and not feeling good enough is linked to the point I've just made, which is that we are afraid of death at a deep, deep level. And when our subconscious, when our ego can link anything to the fear of abandonment and the fear of death, that's why it causes a problem. We'll get more into that. People get confused, I think, talking about childhood trauma and how this links to everything. And that is because when we think about trauma as grown-ups, we think about things that are obviously traumatic to a grown-up, big things. It's one of the reasons we can all sort of recognize that if someone was severely abused as a child, if they were raised by drug addicts or alcoholics, or they were beaten, sexually abused, we can see how that links to them having problems in later life. Most of us can accept that. You'll watch a documentary about a mass murderer on Netflix and you'll see that that's what their childhood was like. I'm like, yeah, I can see that link. The problem is, when we talk about trauma for most of us, is that type of trauma didn't happen to us. And the reality is that trauma for children is different than it is for trauma for adults. And we all process things differently. So it's not even necessarily about the thing that happened to you as a child. It's about how you interpreted it and internalized it. So you can have someone, I've seen over the years, many people, including myself, who are highly sensitive people. If you're a highly sensitive person, if you're a highly sensitive child, you're likely to have experienced more things as being traumatic that other people didn't. So it's not about objectively what happened to you. It's about, a lot of the time, how you internalized it. One of my favorite examples of this, to highlight how trauma is different for kids than it is for grown-ups, is, think of it, any child, little child you've ever known, maybe your kids, someone else's kids, that had an ice cream and dropped it. When a kid drops an ice cream, their reaction can be traumatic. It's like the end of the world. And I remember once explaining this to my dad, who had no interest in any of this type of work. So I was trying to explain something to him, and he said, yeah, but when you were little, Paul, if you'd have dropped your ice cream, we'd just say to you, yeah, we'll just buy you a new one. And I said to him, no. And that's the problem. And this is why so many people struggle with it, because they come to me and they say, but I had a nice childhood, Paul. And I say, no, I had a nice childhood too. That's not what this is about. This isn't about beating up our parents. And I think that's where people get lost with this trauma thing, is they don't want to say, oh, I had a traumatic childhood, because they had a nice childhood a lot of the time. But this is why this is such a good example. I said to my dad, think of it like this. You've got your house, your home where you live, where you've got everything. You've lived there for 30 years. Yeah. Imagine coming home from work one day and your house wasn't there. It's burnt down or it's just vanished. Would that feel traumatic to you? And he said, yes. And I said, what if I came along and I put my hand on your back and just said, Dad, don't worry about it. I'll buy you a new house. Would that help? Would that take away the trauma? And he said, no. And I said, why? And he said, because that's my house with all my stuff in it. And I've got a lot of emotional attachment to it. And I said, exactly. That's how a 3-year-old feels about their ice cream. Because they don't have a concept of there's more ice cream in the world. That's their ice cream. They've got an emotional attachment to it. So when they drop it and they feel upset and we just dismiss that, that is adding to the trauma, because it's part of something that's fundamental to all of this, which is being taught to suppress and repress our emotions from a young age. Think about it. We tell kids not to cry. We tell kids not to be afraid. We tell kids not to be angry, not to be jealous. So we're being taught to suppress and repress absolutely natural parts of being a human. And that is part of what makes us shut things down, which is traumatic. So go back to the point we made before. All of these things, as you say to a child, think of the ice cream example. The child internally is having a traumatic experience. They feel very sad, distraught, distressed. And then someone comes along who they know they need to help keep them alive. And they say, don't feel, they effectively say, don't feel what you're feeling. It's invalid. It's not valid. I can buy you a new ice cream. The kid learns that what it's feeling isn't okay. And it learns that if I keep feeling this stuff, this person won't like me, this person won't love me, they'll abandon me and I'll die. So subconsciously our ego says, right, all I care about is survival. Let's shut this down. We'll push it away. We'll become the person we need to become to get love, to not be abandoned. And then we'll be safe. And this is why I started ages ago deciding that it was, rather than talk about childhood trauma, which a lot of us, as I say, just feel uncomfortable with if we've had a relatively nice upbringing, I started talking about programming experiences, which is that when we're a child, the things that happen to us program us. They program our subconscious in a way that is unique for each of us, because we're all built on the same operating system. Think of it like a computer. You're all built on the same platform, but every person's computer is different, because once you've bought the computer with its basic programs, you then install all the things you want to make it do what you want it to do. It's the same for each of us. We've all had billions of different programming experiences from when we were very little up to the present day. And those programming experiences have changed our subconscious to make us who we are. So if we want to change our life now, we need to change the subconscious programming, which is why most programs, most coaching, most therapy doesn't work, because it's only treating the conscious surface level of things and not the deep subconscious part. The real solution then is to focus on reprogramming our subconscious in order to get to the root of all this stuff, which takes 3 stages. The first one is to see ourselves and our programming fully for the first time. The second stage is to undo the programming that we don't want that's causing the problems. And the third stage is to install new programming that makes us the person we want to be. This all takes time, but we can see improvements almost immediately. People who work with me using the systems I've set up usually see improvements and changes within a couple of weeks, and there's no upper limit to where you can go. The trick is that we need to decide where we want to be and how much we're prepared to put in, which is different for all of us. If this resonates with you, I'm going to be talking in more detail about all of it in future episodes. So do the things you need to do to follow me wherever you're watching this. And if you want more help, you're ready for more help, there are links around this or in my profile on whatever platform you're on with all different options for all different budgets. Thank you for taking the time to join me. I'll see you next time.